You're getting ready to jump on your plane for the vacation that you booked long, long ago, and you see that the news reports that the State Department travel advisory has changed for the country that you're planning on going to. This comes as a complete shock to you. You didn't even think of the security situation while you're there. But then when you look at the State Department website, you don't even know what that means. Hi, my name is Evan. I'm a travel risk manager for a global organization that sends people all over the globe. And we're going to talk a little bit about US State Department travel advisories. So just to start with a basic overview of what a US State Department travel advisory is. So some of the things to think about is that the US State Department travel advisory attributes a rating for the risk of the country based on the security and also the health situation that's going on within that location. Every country recognized by the US government is rated on a 1 through 4 scale, with 1 being the least risky locations and 4 being the most risky locations around the globe. So the ratings go 1, and they call it an exercise normal precaution destination, 2, exercise increased caution destination, 3 is a reconsider travel destination, and 4 is considered a do not travel destination. Oftentimes, all of these advisories should be taken within the lens that they are targeted towards US citizens and those residing in the US traveling to a different location. These travel advisories do not apply in the US, so they don't issue them for US cities that might be experiencing, higher than normal crime rates. So just keep that in mind if you're traveling to the US from a different location, or you're traveling domestically if you're already in the US. The rating is justified by a list of different risks that basically could be a number of different things, right? So it could amount to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping. All of those things will pop up on the very top of the risk rating. We'll get into that in just a minute, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then just to note that there are some countries where they specify some areas of the country of being a different risk level than others, right? So for example, the capital cities of some countries may be a lower risk rating compared to border areas with countries that are much more insecure. In addition, the thing to note is that it really provides basic advice, and the other big asset to it is that it's actually free to access. It's an open source resource. So you can seek that guidance pretty easily. Other governments do have similar websites too. So they kind of change depending on the format that government tends to put out for that location. But all of them are pretty useful, right? So the United Kingdom's Foreign Commonwealth Development Office provides foreign travel advice on their particular website. Australia has a great website. It's called Smart Traveler. Canada has a government travel advice page. So you can see that all those different locations have sort of travel advice pages. If you're looking in a different language as well, France will have one in French, same thing with Spain, Germany, all those different countries will have those in those preferred languages that you might be looking at. For the next part, we're gonna go through an example walkthrough and highlight some of these important bits of information that you can actually pull from different State Department travel advisories. And I'm also gonna provide you some basic sort of explanations and some examples of a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, and a level 4 country, just so you can see what that will look like when you're potentially looking at it for yourself. The country we're going to take a look at is Australia. So as you can see, it says the name just up above here. And then you can see all of the basic information along this page. So it starts off as a level 1, talks a little bit more about that. You can check below, see this additional information. So around here you can see exercise normal precautions. It gives you some basic information, some other places that you can check out information like the country security report, which can be really helpful. And then if you continue on, this is where they would list any alerts that may come up. So if there was some kind of terrorist attack in country, the alerts would likely come there. There's some basic quick facts about arrivals in country, visa information, things like that. And then it gives you additional information below, some safety and security information,
information that details entry and exit from the country, visa requirements, destination description, and then which embassies are in country if you are a US citizen. It also gives you some health information, health stuff. A lot of this pertains to medical information, medical insurance information, but you can find additional information about CDC requirements in terms of vaccination on the CDC travel page, which is pretty useful. So that's a basic overview of Australia. Jumping over to our level 2 country, you can see this one is France. The level 2 is exercise increased caution. You can see two different things here. So it talks about terrorism and then also civil unrest. So these two symbols, they're kind of the same thing that you would find down here, but they'll give you a basic indication just in that upper portion of what exactly is going on in country. So you can see terrorism and civil unrest, and then it will give you a basic summary of what that means. So information about terrorist attacks, and then also pickpocketing, things like that. It gives you some basic mitigation advice as well, and again that same information to the country security report, different links that you can follow as well. Jumping forward to our next country, so I picked out Egypt. Egypt is a good example for a level 3 destination. This country too has two different risk ratings, which we'll touch upon in a minute. So you can see that there are two parts of this: terrorist activity, and then there's an other category. So that other category pertains to the embassy's limited ability to assist dual national US Egyptian citizens who are arrested or detained. So that's for a very specific group, right? So sometimes they'll add that additional information that may be useful if that pertains directly to you. But obviously terrorism is the biggest concern in parts of Egypt. You can also see that they don't actually mention it's a level 4, but they say do not travel to the following locations. So the northern and middle Sinai Peninsula due to terrorism, Western Desert due to terrorism, and then also the Egyptian border areas due to military zones. So all of those locations would be considered a level 4 do not travel destination. Same information as before, country summary. It also gives you those additional bits of information. And then down here, it gives you a bit more information about northern and middle Sinai Peninsula, especially the do not travel areas. And then the last location, there aren't that many level 4 destinations around the globe. And in general, I would say you probably do want to travel, take the State Department's advice on a level 4 destination, unless you have specific work there, right? So in my particular work, we do send people to level 4 destinations, but obviously there's a lot of preparation that goes along with that. So if you're not going to have that available to you, it makes it a little bit more difficult. As you can see, Ukraine obviously is a level 4. This one is also in other categories. So it says do not travel to Ukraine due to Russia's war against Ukraine, right? So that gives you a bit of more information. They also break this down a little bit more. So there are some locations that they would consider a level 3. So it's kind of the reverse of what we saw last time. And that includes, Lviv, which is a large city sort of in Western Ukraine. And you can go through, check out some information. They have additional information here, like the air raid siren, alarm map, things like that that may be useful if you are going. So this gives you some more information. And again, all those links that we talked about before. One thing I forgot to mention is that in each of these travel advisories, it lists when it was last updated. For example, if this was to change to a level 3 today, it would be, a March 2025 date. So that gives you an indication of how long that's been in place for.
So now that we've looked at all 4 of those examples and talked a little bit about the complexities of that information itself, you're probably asking yourself, why is this information important at all to me? And is it even useful, right? So I would say from my perspective, I don't use it for all of my information when I think about going on a trip, right? So if I'm going to go take a personal vacation, I'm not basing all of that on the US State Department Travel Advisory. I will say they do get a lot of attention. So the media picks it up a lot, especially if it's a major tourist destination where a lot of US citizens go. So locations that I can think of that I've traveled to recently that had a change in their State Department travel advisory. Jamaica is a good example. It turns out that change in the travel advisory wasn't actually that significant for my particular trip. but it's important to note that the media will pick it up. The State Department travel advisories can also be a pretty useful baseline. So I think this is really how you should use it, right? You can use it sort of as the beginning of your research. If you are trying to pick out a destination for your next vacation and you're not sure what the security or safety environment looks like in that particular location, you can check the State Department Travel Advisory website just to get a basic understanding of what that could look like for you. And then maybe, go into more detail in some other resources too. There are different parts of the advisory that are important, but I always think it's important to look at the advisory when it changes, right? So if it increases or decreases one of those levels, the 1 through 4 levels, it's a good indication that there's some kind of deterioration in that particular country, or there may be an improvement, right? Oftentimes it's a deterioration lately, but I would say, there are examples where it might actually improve. So if you're looking at a location and you see that the advisory has increased in its threat level, that's usually caused by some kind of, large event. Oftentimes, the US State Department is looking at it through the lens of how it could affect an American in particular. It may be directly related to, a criminal act against an American, things like that would cause them to, raise the alarm. Obviously, large conflicts that can change, State Department ratings as well. But it's important to look at those particular parts, right? So when it increases or decreases, that's a better indication of what's going on in that particular location. It's important to recognize that basically all information, no matter where you find it, is going to have some kind of bias, right? I have a bias. Everybody has a bias when they're, providing some kind of information to you. Same goes for, these government websites. As such, they can change over time and sometimes are a reflection on government policy at the US presidential administrative level. So there are examples in which, things have changed even in the past few months that have reflected, the priorities of whatever administration is in power at that particular time. The other thing I would say is you don't want to solely rely on State Department travel advisories to research a trip destination. They often tend to be very cautious. So I would say if you're going to a particular destination, you want to use a combination of this, other resources that I mentioned in this, but then take a look at, local news stories. If you can, get in contact with someone local that can provide you a little bit more context to some of that information. It can just give you a better idea of how that may play out for you. That's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Be prepared for future videos coming out. I'm very excited to provide some more information about this. This is a passion project of mine, so I'll keep it coming. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Thanks so much. Have a good day. Bye.